Hello, everyone. My name is Caitríona, for those of you that don't know me, and those of you who are on screen, or those of you watching the video later, you're very welcome. And those of you that obviously are new to the programme, I'm delighted you're all here. So tonight, our masterclass is on being aware of your self-consciousness, how you feel about yourself, and being aware if you feel nervous and feel aware of any self-doubt that we can have throughout the day or when we're out socialising, and how to collaborate our minds to cope and adjust your way of thinking so that you feel happier and more content and more comfortable in your surroundings. So as you know, we have a monthly class, which is the last Wednesday of every month. So just to say it at this point, and if you can't attend on a Wednesday evening with your busy lives, like bringing your kids somewhere or whatever, you can register and listen back to the recordings, because some people don't realize that. So I always mention it at the beginning or the end. So I'd like to thank all those who sent us in suggestions for topics that would interest you. So the Figure and I can put presentations together every month ahead so that we can cover everything that you want to cover. And remember, this is your opportunity to get involved and feel in control of your feelings and your actions towards going forward. And that feeling of being in control is so empowering and satisfying and rewarding. So when we feel self-conscious or feel nervous in different settings, or we have some self-doubt that consumes us at times, and yes, we are all different, but yet we are all the same when we're struggling at times on occasions throughout our lives. And it's all safe learning. And we all learn by actions from the time we're born as a baby throughout our teenager lives, and also as right up to the present. So we learn to adapt as we go. Some of us are more nervous and doubting our abilities more than others. Some of us are the life and soul of the party. Now, maybe some are outwardly only. So some have learned this through watching others and reacting the same outwardly, but are still freaking out inside ourselves. Some turn to drink and some turn to other addictive substances that get us through our day. We are here to tell you and to help you realize and believe you can feel better, and hopefully and even grateful for the work through these traumas so we experience through no fault of our own. So let's start with self-consciousness. So self-consciousness is the experience of becoming overly aware of yourself, how you look, how you sound, how you're being perceived by other people. And sometimes that can overwhelm us. It often shows up in social or professional situations where instead of feeling present in the moment, attention turns inwardly and begins monitoring our own behaviour, our own tone if we're speaking, our own posture, and our own reactions to looking around the room. And its core, self-consciousness is a protective pattern. It develops from the human need for belonging and approval. The mind attempts to prevent embarrassment or rejection by increasing self-surveillance. However, this internal monitoring creates tension and it disrupts the natural flow of our bodies and can make a person feel awkward or inhibited, even when there is no real threat. And it's not a personality trait. It is a learned habit of attention that we learn through our years of watching other people and our environment that we grow up in. So let's just mention now nervousness. So nervousness, it's a state of psychological activation. What does it mean? It may include sensations such as a racing heart, maybe a tight chest, shallow breathing, relentlessness, restlessness, or a shaky voice. Importantly, nervousness does not always mean danger, though. It is simply the nervous system preparing for something perceived as significant, like standing up to do a presentation, or being at an occasion where you're being asked to maybe be best man, or at a christening, You have a little duty to do. So in modern life, this activation is often triggered by social visibility, performance, uncertainty, or perceived evaluation, rather than physical threat to our bodies. The difficulty arises not from the sensation itself, but from how it is interpreted. Our nervous energy is labelled as bad sometimes, or a problem. The mind reacts with resistance, which amplifies the experience. Remember, nervousness is not a weakness. It is energy that has been misinterpreted. Let's touch on self-doubt for a moment. Self-doubt is an internal questioning of one's own ability, worth, or judgment. It often appears before new opportunities, moments of invisibility, moments of visibility, moments of growth. So while I can feel like a flaw or lack of confidence, self-doubt is typically a protective response. It attempts to shield the individual from potential failure, from criticism or rejection. So we shy away from different situations or occasions. Unlike logical problem solving, self-doubt tends to persist even when evidence suggests competence. It operates at a deeper emotional level, often shaped by early experiences, comparisons to our past, and social conditioning in our surroundings as we grow up, as we go to school, as we go to college, if we're lucky enough for an apprenticeship, or into our adult lives. So left unchecked, this self-doubt will lead to hesitation, overanalyzing maybe, avoidance of situations, and missed opportunities maybe because you're afraid to go for an interview for a job that you know that you might have the skills for, or you have the education for, but that self-doubt stops you. But like self-consciousness and nervousness it is not identity. Remember, it's a learned internal pattern. And learned patterns can be updated, as you all know from doing your hypnosis sessions. We work on that in the very start. Trusting, believing in yourself, wanting to do things that you know you can do, or it's just the adrenaline gets the better of you. So self-consciousness, this habit of internal surveillance, self-consciousness is not simply shyness or lack of confidence. It is a state which attention, it turns inward and it begins monitoring the internal self. So instead of participating naturally in a moment and enjoying a moment, the individual sometimes becomes both the actor, as in pretending, and the audience, as being in the audience. So there is a subtle split. One part behaving the way you think you should be behaving, and the other part observing and evaluating the behavior. So this internal surveillance often develops early in life through social conditioning. Humans are biologically wired for belonging. We all want to belong. As children, we look for approval. We need the safety of our parents, of our house, of our home. When we're in creche or when we're in school, we look for the safety. We look for our own kind. And attachments are deeply linked. Over time, the nervous system learns that being judged or excluded feels threatening. So to prevent this threat, the mind develops a strategy. Monitor yourself, adjust constantly, and avoid mistakes. The fear of making a mistake can stop us so many times from wanting to be ourselves, wanting to be accepted as ourselves. And sometimes we only learn this as adults, that we can let go. And it's okay if you make a mistake. None of us are perfect. But if it wasn't an intentional mistake because you didn't know any better, we need to be kind and caring and patient to ourselves. And sometimes in modern life, the mechanism of not being able to cope in whatever way triggers situations. Authority, maybe when you're in authority in a job or in school. We shy away from standing up for ourselves. New environments, whether it's meeting new people in a pub or whether it's going out to a football match, whether it's bringing our children somewhere and having to mix with new parents, the social comparisons, different places, performance or evaluation. So we're always judging ourselves. And the body responds as if something meaningful is at stake. The muscles tense, maybe. Speech becomes less fluid. We stutter a little bit, maybe. And behavior becomes slightly unnatural. We feel it's unnatural. We don't feel as comfortable as if we were sitting at home on our couches. The paradox is this. The very act of trying to avoid awkwardness creates it. So self-confidence is therefore not a personality flaw. It is overactivation of a belonging protection system. It becomes problematic when self-monitoring replaces presence. So let's live in the present. Let's focus on the now and not get overwhelmed by different things that are going on in our mind. So we don't have this self-doubt. So we don't have this nervousness. Or if we do, we know we can cope. We know we'll get through it. So at its core, it is a tension that is folded inward so tightly. Let us be free. Let's be allowing ourselves to learn new habits, new behaviors, and really enjoy being ourselves as we want ourselves to see ourselves to be. Following a direction, finding your direction, and enjoying the journey. Not overthinking, just be present and enjoy right now. And as I said, nervousness is a psychological state of arousal. It's when the body prepares for action, a fear, a threat. The heart increases, the breathing shifts, adrenaline circulates, and senses sharpen. So from the system exists to prepare us for survival, for flight, or fight, or focused performance. And for some of us, it comes real easy to stand up and speak at presentations. For others, it's so overwhelming 3, 4, 10 weeks in advance that we can't even focus on preparing the presentation. So living in the present, looking at the good things that are going on in your life, really helps us to feel more at ease with ourselves. Speaking in front of people, as I say, being evaluated at an interview or in your job or at, your reviews, and entering uncertainty. And that can be very overpowering at times, uncertain of what might happen. But let us focus on what we want to happen so that we can focus on what if this went right? What if that went right? How great would that be? So you're anticipating outcomes. For some people, when they take a few drinks, they feel like they can enjoy life a little bit better and they can involve themselves in conversations or whatever. But what if you didn't have to do that? What if you could just go in and have 1 or 2 drinks, enjoy them, but not overdrink to compensate? Wouldn't that be wonderful? And that's what all this self-preparation, this self-improvement is all about. So enjoy being you. Accept yourself. We all have flaws. We all have different things we could do to feel better or to look better. But at the end of the day, everybody's so self-absorbed in themselves that they don't even notice if you're sweating or that you stop 5 times for a drink in a board meeting. So just be honest with yourself. Be free. Free your mind. And allow your nervous system to clear between, instead of feeling I might be judged and I might be attacked, simply, what if I wasn't? What if I really enjoyed it? What if the adrenaline was brilliant? What if the endorphins were brilliant and I really enjoyed speaking, or I really enjoyed meeting new people in a pub? What if I met my partner? Wouldn't that be fantastic? but to put yourself out there to experience life, because we don't want to have a bucket list and not do any of it. So when the nervous energy, sometimes you feel it shouldn't be happening. This means I'm not capable. They will notice. Put that out of your mind and focus on what you're doing or what you want to do. The brain interprets resistance as confirmation of danger. Activation increases. So thus the nervous system becomes self-reinforcing in the negative. Not because the situation is unsafe, but because the sensation, the feeling you're having is treated as a threat. So in reality, the nervous system is simply mobilized energy. So see the energy as endorphins, as something that you can look forward to so that you can enjoy being in the present and working through it, because we're safe no matter where we are. So let's be honest with ourselves. Let the transformation begin rather than oppose it. The protective questioning of yourself, self-doubt, is the internal voice that questions capacity, adequacy, or worth. It often surfaces at the edge of growth because visibility and risk, expansion, or change. So psychologically, self-doubt functions as a risk management mechanism. It attempts to protect the individual from failure or criticism or embarrassment or social rejection or even loss of identity in a crowd. So while self-consciousness monitors behavior in the present, self-doubt projects sometimes into the future. What if I can't? What if I've exposed? What if they see I'm not enough? So remember, self-doubt is rarely based on objective evidence. There's many capabilities within the body. High performance. Despite, even though people can be very successful, we still get people coming to us to help them with success, to help them feel confident, to help them feel that they're not an imposter. Because self-doubt, remember, is not logical. It's an irrational and it's emotional. And it's shaped by comparisons and early feedback from childhood, conditioning, approval from parents, sometimes perfectionist environments, keeping your room tidy, maybe having everything in order, sometimes some social hierarchies. You feel that you will amount to nothing because of your environment, or people might tell you at school, but that's them. That's not you. You can decide who you want to be and how you want to live your life. Over time, doubts become automatic. So we have learned and we've taught you to not worry about the hesitation or the over-preparation or the avoidance or the over-analysing of everything or the self-sabotage. Focus on what you really want. Growth threatens identity before it builds confidence. So now that you are in this program, we focus on confidence, we focus on happiness, joy, we focus on empowerment, we focus on growth, we focus on helping you through all those doubts that you might have. And we have places that you can go to release those doubts, those worries, those concerns. And if you want more help with that, just let us know. So self-consciousness monitors the present. The nervous system monitors the body. And self-doubt questions the future. So there's a lot going on. All three are rooted in the same fundamental drive, the need for safety and belonging. So when we're at home, let us feel safe and belonging. They're not signs of weakness. They're a protective pattern that has become over-generalized because of our upbringing and our belief system, and because they are learned responses rather than fixed traits. you know we can calibrate, and you know that we can make changes. So let's open our minds, let's open our hearts, let's open our bodies to change is good. Change is important so that you can allow your self-consciousness to do the work it needs to do and allow your conscious and your unconscious to work together in harmony. So I have a few questions here that people have asked me to put in. Why do I suddenly feel so aware of myself in certain situations? Again, it's because your subconscious has switched into the monitoring role. Instead of being present, your attention turns inward and starts scanning. How am I coming across to people? Am I okay? Do I look good? What do people think? It's not danger, it's learned self-observation. So what if we decided to feel good about how we looked? We're looking the best we can. And in times where you feel a little bit low, why not dress to impress? Impress yourself. Why not? Sometimes women especially, they like to put makeup on, they like to do their hair. And there's men as well that love all of that, love their fashion. So what if we learn to make ourselves look good, feel good, so that in certain situations, whether it's in work or it's out socializing, that we feel we look the best we can. So that helps us feel better. Next question, is self-consciousness actually a sign of low confidence? Not necessarily. It's usually a sign of over-attention on yourself. Self-consciousness is over-attention on yourself, not a lack of ability. So many highly capable people feel deeply self-conscious. They just hide it well. So for yourself, ask yourself, how do I feel about myself when I'm in different situations? And if you're struggling in any way, speak privately to Fiacre or myself, and we'll help you through that. Next question. Why does it feel like everybody is watching me? Because your mind exaggerates visibility and what you see around you. So when you're self-aware, it feels amplified, it feels worse. But in reality, most people are preoccupied with themselves because you're preoccupied by yourself. So you haven't got time to think about other people. So they're the same. The spotlight feels really internal, but externally it's very faint. And most people are not interested in you. They're interested in themselves and how they look and how they feel and how they perform. So everybody's in the same boat. So if you haven't got time to think about other people and what they think, neither have you, or neither have they. Next question, why does it happen more in work or social settings? Because to us, it's natural for humans to feel they want to belong. Belonging matters. Your brain is wired for social approval. So when your environment feels uncomfortable, even subtly, your system becomes alert. Your nervous system is protecting you. So it will naturally say, whoa, I don't feel comfortable here, and it prepares for attack, even though it's not attack or threat. So what if you notice this, and when it comes and happens to you, that you say to yourself something more positive, well, actually, I'm not interested in other people and how they look, although they're nice and it gives me ideas. But what if you said, well, they don't care about me, so why am I caring about what they think? It doesn't really matter what other people think, it's what you think. So what is the mind actually trying to do? It's trying to protect you from rejection or embarrassment. If I monitor closely, I can perceive mistakes. This is what your unconsciousness is thinking. But constant monitoring actually creates tension, exhaustion, a feeling that you can't cope when actually you're overthinking. And what if you said to yourself, well, I'm going to act. I'm going to fake it till I make it. Like going into an interview and you're rattling and you feel, well, I have to give an impression here. Your preparation is to, I suppose, know your information, whether it's a presentation, an interview, or whatever it's going to be, to do a business or a work. If you have clients, that they feel like you know what you're talking about. So overthinking can make you feel worse. So how about you check how you feel and you make a change like a flick of a switch, and you say to yourself, I'm a grown-up here. There's something I can't do. So I'm going to do this, or I've done this many times with other people or in other social settings, but why am I feeling it now? Because maybe this situation is more important to you. Or maybe you're looking for a girlfriend, boyfriend, and this is important to you. So once you understand what's going on in your head, then you can adjust your thinking to be more positive about the outcome and focus on what you would like to happen. It's amazing how comfortable and how content that helps you make you feel. And afterwards, we're well known for replaying conversations afterwards. I should have said, I could have said. And your brain is trying to correct something that isn't broken. It assumes that there must be an error, so it searches for one. That's self-doubt. So how about believing and trusting in yourself that you're an intelligent person enough to work it out at the correct time? So you're focused on what you're doing at the time, whether it's work, whether it's minding the baby, whether it's, going out to do something important, that you're focused on what you're doing so that you're focusing on one thing at a time rather than allowing your mind be overthinking. Wouldn't that really be helpful? Allowing your unconsciousness to soothe you, just like a baby would have a soother or a blanket or a cuddle from a parent or someone. We need to self-soothe ourselves at times. To no more fighting with ourselves. No more. Stop resisting and shift your attention outwardly. And it softens your emotions, softens your feelings naturally. Another question was, why do confident people seem unaffected? Well, they're not necessarily unaffected. They're just not analysing or over-analysing at this moment in time. They might self-analyse later and be very critical. So being in the present, focusing on the present, it does replace self-monitoring. It really helps you find that calm foundation where you feel safe and comfortable. So that if you have a moment and it rises, the levels they stay low. We want to keep our levels of discomfort low so that we can then focus on being happy or a happy situation or allowing ourselves to feel free. Use your bubble to help you. Go to the beach, go for a walk in your mind. All these things are really, really helpful. Imagine your problems disappearing and focus on what if it was gone? How would that make me feel? And then focus on that feeling and tell your mind, just say, this is how I want to feel, so that your unconsciousness can take hold of those new feelings. So that your unconsciousness can give you what you want. And enjoy the foundation of calm and peace. And when you're at home and you feel comfortable, or when you're out driving and you feel comfortable, remember how that feels, so that you can remember that for later, or in a time of concern or stress or panic, that you can say, well, I don't like how I feel, but guess what? I like when I feel this way, so that you can focus on that feeling. How good would that be? So another question, what's the simplest way to quiet the internal spotlight? Again, as I said, instead of internally inside, move your attention outwardly, into the room, into other people, into other tasks, into other things that are going on around you in a given moment. And the less you check yourself, the calmer you become. especially for presentations, especially for work situations where you feel self-conscious. Remember, think about what you're saying, or think about, you know, something you're going to do later, so that you're bringing your attention to calm, peaceful center, so that you change that overwhelm in your house, or in your head, sorry, overwhelm in your head to calm and peace. Because you decide how you want to feel in this moment. Why do I feel nervous? When nothing is actually wrong, when I'm just sitting in a boardroom maybe, and I'm not doing anything, I'm not saying anything, or I'm in a social setting, or I'm at a football match and I'm afraid someone might talk to me. And why do you feel nervous? Because your nervous system has learned to associate certain situations with, I must be alert. It's a conditioned response, not a current threat. And again, using hypnosis as a tool and using self-hypnosis as a tool, you can change that belief around threats and around standing in a football match. You know, the chances are nobody's going to punch you if you say something, or you shout at a child. So enjoy it. Why does your body react before I can think? Well, by the time you realize you're nervous, the body is already activated. It's already reacting. So we check ourselves. We say to ourselves, well, is this a situation where I have to be very vigilant? And if the answer is no, breathe calmly. Slow your breathing down. Think back. I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. There's no need to be overthinking. There's no need to be overanalyzing. There's no need to feel this nervous, because I'm just sitting here. And if somebody asks me a question, well, my brain will take over and I'll just answer it. It's as simple as that. You don't have to be thinking too much, really. Just always think about how happy you are, how happy you can be, people that make you happy, the work that maybe you do that is very rewarding. Or if it's not rewarding, the work I do is a means to an end to pay my bills. But there's always a good outcome for your situation, unless it is something you've got to deal with in a frightful moment. So trust your nervous system to react in a way that it's fight or flight or whatever. And then you say to yourself, well, is it danger, or is it just me overreacting a little bit, and maybe I can self-soothe myself? Why does it show up in meetings or social events? Like I say, it's even subtle pressure, maybe. Being observed or speaking or being a new person in the room can trigger activation. And as I say, check yourself. How do I feel? What can I do about this? Soothe myself. I can't take out a soother. I can't take out my blanket, but I can breathe slowly. I can tell myself I'm going to be okay. I can tell myself I'm a grown-up. I'll be able to react in an appropriate way because I have all this memory. I have all this self-learned ability to soothe. Is nervousness a bad sign? No, it's just energy, how you feel. The problem begins when you interpret it as a problem, and it's not a problem. It's a feeling. Do I like this feeling? Do I not like this feeling? Is this the right reaction because it's flight or fight, or it's a dangerous situation? And if it's not, but you kind of just a gut reaction or whatever, just test the water, see how you feel, see your environment, and then bring yourself down to a calmer place, a more content place, and just be freer in your thinking. Why does my heart race or my voice shake? That's adrenaline. It's your body preparing for you to perform or collapse. So the heart races, the voice shakes. That's a part of who most of us are at some point in our lives, whether it's when we're 5 or 20, or in a new job situation, or on a Zoom meeting out of nowhere. So again, self-soothe yourself. Slow your breathing down. Tell yourself you're going to be okay. And if it doesn't work very well in the meeting, give us a phone call later. We're always here to help. We'll help you help yourself. A lot of questions come in as why do I worry? Why do I worry about others and what they say? Because nervousness becomes your hyper awareness. But most signs are far less visible than they feel internally. So just check your situation. Calm your heart by slowing your breathing. Long, slow breaths. And have a drink. Always have a drink wherever you're going at. And I mean water. I don't mean alcohol at work now. But you know yourself what I mean. So find a way that you can soothe yourself. Afterwards, when you're rethinking it, reanalyzing it, think about what could I do that would be better, that would really help me. Why does something come out of nowhere? Because it's triggered by simple or subtle cues, like a tone of an environment, an anticipation of something that you don't consciously register, but it is feeling. Sometimes it disappears quickly once we just are aware of it. The system can settle rapidly. So that's what we aim, that whatever we're feeling, that we can soothe ourselves and react appropriately to situations. What shifts nervousness most effectively? While allowing yourself to feel it. When you stop interpreting it always as danger, it loses its fuel. It loses its understanding. It understands you better. It knows that this is a first thought. What if your first thought was, I'm going to be okay. I can sort this out. I'm a grown-up. I'll get help if I need to, if I don't know what to do. Some people come and say, why do I doubt myself even when I've done it before? Because self-doubt isn't based on evidence or things you've done in the past, maybe. It's based on a protective pattern. What if I'm not good enough? What if you've been off on maternity leave, parental leave, and you come back and you feel different and you feel you're doing the job for a different reason? Sometimes it's escape and sometimes it's, well, means to an end or whatever the case may be. And you feel different about it. Well, recalibrate, reset. Say to yourself, well, things are different because it's obviously different. But say to yourself, I'll manage it, I'll cope, I'll change, I will adapt. And there's always people there to help you around you in your support system. Why do I compare myself constantly? Well, compensation, comparing yourself, is a shortcut the brain uses to access belonging, whether it's in a group of 1, a group of 10, a group of Zoom people, a group in work. People you work with, you might not necessarily want to socialize with. So believe in yourself. Instead of comparing yourself to other people in your work or in a similar position, believe in yourself for being you and believe in yourself for doing the best you can. That's all you can be asked to do. And retrain if you have to. Look at your options. And another question here is, why does my mind focus on what could go wrong? Well, your brain is wired to threat detection, as in, what's the danger out there? It scans for potential failure to keep you safe. Sometimes it gets a gut reaction of someone looking at us or imminent danger. But remember, It's time to trust. It's time to believe in yourself and use all the skills you've learned over the 6 months. We're continuously learning all our lives. Even if it is we're in a job for 20 years, things are going to change. So now moving on. Some of you have your eyes open and some of you will have your eyes closed because that's something that we do. So how about enjoying a little deepener exercise now? So I'd like you all to close your eyes, if you haven't already, that is. And I want you to just focus on your breathing. Breathing gently in, hold for 2 seconds and breathing gently out. I'm repeating that a couple of times as I ask you to self-analyze the following. Who would I be without self-consciousness? You would likely be more ordinary than you imagine. Self-consciousness creates the illusion that something significant is at stake. What if you just felt natural when you're or comfortable or at peace? When you're just checking yourself out. Am I happy? If I'm not, why am I not? And can I think of a happy moment in this moment? Just to feel freer. Let natural become familiar. Is self-doubt actually mine? Or is it someone from the past? A fear of something? Maybe one of your parents or your carer or somebody had a self-doubt. Doubt is usually inherited from culture, schooling, family dynamics, comparison structures. You learn to question yourself long before you understand that you are questioning yourself. Questioning yourself is good, but it can be conditioned in a way that you don't feel very positive about yourself. So let's look at that self-doubt and let's not be critical, learn from it and decide how you want to feel. And allow yourself to be kind, caring, loving, and patient with yourself. Be free. What is nervousness trying to perceive? It's trying to find your identity. So when you step into something new, your system asks you, when I succeed, who will I become? If I fail, what would that mean? So nervousness guards the current version of yourself now. And as you grow, as you find your identity, as you find out who you are and who you want to be, and if there's something inside us that we don't like, that's okay. Do we want to let go of it, get rid of it? Or do we want to change it to something more like yourself and how you want to feel? Why does visibility feel unsafe, as if people are looking at you? It means vulnerability. So if we feel good outwardly, and if we start to feel, well, it's nobody's business but our own, how we look, how we feel. So you focus on the good stuff. Focus on being happy. What is the fear beneath self-consciousness? The exposure. Being seen as inadequate, being misunderstood, being rejected. Sometimes the mind would rather feel like you're shrinking away from a situation than risk that exposure. But what if it felt really good to put yourself out there? What if you went for an interview that you weren't sure that you might get the job, but you used the interview to help you learn from your experience of an interview? and use it in another interview to help you get the job. Sometimes we have to put ourselves out there. But remember, the interviewees are just people, just like you and me. They have their own self-doubts, their own fears, their own self-consciousness. When they're behind at the other side of the table, they feel they're more in power than you are at the other side. But remember, you go in and you be you, and you enjoy the interview in a way of learning, putting it all together, feeling free. Why do I feel like I'm pretending sometimes? Well, because sometimes we are, but we're learning through it. And growth always feels slightly unnatural at first, till you get comfortable with the uncomfortable. What changes when I stop resisting these patterns? Well, they lose their urgency. Patterns intensify when opposed. They soften when observed without threat. The moment you stop fighting the experience stops fighting you. So experience all the different emotions. Think of a situation where you often felt self-conscious. Now ask yourself, what am I afraid of? The people around me, where I am? You're a grown-up. You can decide how you want to feel. Notice your breathing right now. If someone was evaluating you in this moment, what would change? Becoming conscious of your own breathing, you're in control of it. And you can decide to breathe slowly, to compose yourself. Or if you're training, maybe on a gym or on a run or a cycle, maybe you feel your heartbeat is racing. Enjoy the endorphins from that. So breathing different pace is good for you. Just recall a time when you were completely absorbed in something. What was absent in that moment? Was it fear because you were totally absorbed in something interesting? Or was it self-observation? So what we tell ourselves is what we believe. But what have we told ourselves? We can be strong, we can be competent, we can be at peace with ourselves. You can do it if you put your mind to it, if you have the right qualification. Why should someone else get the job ahead of you when you have experience or you have the qualification? So we have to sell ourselves sometimes in interviews. But that's okay. You're just being honest about why you should get the job. So feel proud of yourself, feel good about yourself. Imagine acting without thinking, without analysing. Just imagine just doing something on the spur of the moment. The adrenaline rush is amazing. It's a lovely feeling. So right now in this room, with other people on the Zoom, what are you monitoring about yourself? Well, because you have your camera off, is it easier? Just remember, if you're having a moment of struggle or worries or concerns, that you can ring or text Vic or myself privately. If you want to follow up from anything from tonight also, if there's questions that have come to mind, just text us or ring us and ask for a call back if we're not available at that time. Or if anything is triggered with you tonight, that's what we're here for. If you don't ring us, we assume that you're doing great and change is happening for you. Change that makes you feel happy and content. Let there be no confusion. We are here to help you. So just to finish up, the next masterclass is going to be on Wednesday, the 25th of March at 7 p.m. And reminders will always be sent out in plenty of time so you can register, whether you can attend or not. And we look forward to questions that come in, because by asking the question, you're helping other people, because maybe they didn't want to ask the question or didn't think of the question. And hopefully Fika will be with us next time. This recording will be sent out, as always, at the end of not between this week and next week, so that you can watch it back if you wish to. You'll also get an email in about 10 minutes or so with a link to book our next masterclass. And you can also reply in that email with questions or follow-ups that you might have. So for now, I want you to enjoy your evening. Good night.